Joining us from Cincinnati, Ohio, Nancy Hagan of Effective Day works with entrepreneurs and business professionals to gain an hour a day or more and be more focused, organized, and productive. Nancy says, I'm not one of those people who was born organized. She started her business over 10 years ago after solving her own problems, and she realized that she loved to do it and could help others while doing it. She is a certified productivity specialist and university certified executive coach with over 20 years business experience. Nancy has taught productivity classes at Miami University, is a member of the National Association of Professional Organizers. Nancy is dedicated to helping business leaders with simple yet powerful systems that quickly impact efficiency, productivity, and profitability, and to freeing you to do what you do best. Nancy, welcome. We appreciate you being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Janet. I love to be here because I love to help people learn how Paper Tiger can make their day, their life so much easier. And I always like to tell people that I'm not somebody who was born organized. You know, I always wanted to be, and I did pretty well until life got more complicated with, business, family, kids, all the million things I'm sure you're all dealing with. But I just think it's so important for you to know that there are some simple systems, Paper Tiger being the number one in there, that can help make things so much easier for you. Because sometimes people think there's something wrong with them, that, I'm not good enough. Or I had one client, I just don't have that organizing chip, she said. But if you have the right systems in place, it just makes a world of difference. It makes everything so much easier for you. And if you've ever heard of the productivity guy, Edward Deming, who was responsible, he's an American productivity specialist many years ago, but he was responsible for helping Japan become a manufacturing powerhouse. A lot of the people, he tried to reach a lot of people in the U.S., and he got a better reception over in Japan, and of course they put his ideas to good use. But the reason I mention him is not because you're going to become a manufacturing powerhouse or anything, unless you really want to, but because he said that 94% of all failures are due to the systems, not the people. So I just think that's so important for you to realize that if you have Paper Tiger helping you, it's just going to make a world of difference. And I've had so many clients who say, oh my gosh, this system has saved our lives so many times, and it reduces the stress and everything. And people who, at the beginning, I do what I call an office miracle in it. And sometimes at the beginning of the day or before our appointment, they just feel like, oh, I'm just hopeless, and I hope you can help me make things better and all that. And by the end of the day, they're saying, oh, this is much easier than I thought, and then we have follow-up calls, and they're still doing well. And so anyway, I just want to encourage you in that way, because some of the comments I saw, you're feeling a little overwhelmed and discouraged, which is normal. I remember when I first set up my Paper Tiger for the first time, and I had to think about it and get things set up, but just a little bit at a time. Anyway, it's a transformation. So I'm really glad that you've decided to be here. And because you're serious and you have that feeling that Paper Tiger can help you, and I just want to validate that it's really the case. And I want to try to make that even a little easier for you, because when you're learning something new, it can seem confusing, but it's really very simple. So we'll go through it. And then I do want to offer you at the bottom of my website, but I'd really rather you not look at it now, but there is there's an assessment, and then you have the option for a free, you can put yes or no, you don't have to do it, a consultation where I'd be happy to talk to you and help you, figure out if Paper Tiger is right for you, or if you're using it already. We can talk about your situation and everything. Then also, I'm going to have an offer for productivity coaching. And as I said, I really don't particularly want to get into that right now, but just so you know, that's coming up. And so anyway, let's see. So you will see Paper Tiger on the screen, or I should say Paper Tiger online. That is, I started over 10 years ago when Paper Tiger was just in software. So it's really exciting to see it, the online version. There's so many advantages to that. If you're still using the software, more power to you, because I used that for many, many years, and it's a great product. So here we are on the dashboard, and you can see, you customize it. My company name is up there and everything. And I have several databases set up. My office, my husband's office, who's a real estate broker, home things, which I prefer to keep separate, but there's no hard and fast rule. There's ways to customize. That's one of the beauties of Paper Tiger. No matter how what your situation is, you can customize Paper Tiger so that it suits you and does what you want it to do. So it fits your life in your business. You don't have to fit into a certain form. And then a new thing I started doing, which I'll show you a little later, is I put some subscriptions in there. You know how you start almost as soon as you subscribe to a magazine, you start getting the subscription renewals, and so I just like to keep track of that. It's not I don't get that many magazines anymore, but I think it's helpful. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So we want to go back to, so say you're just starting to use Paper Tiger, where do you start? So you want to create a new database. So why don't we call this, I'll do real estate company. I do all kinds of businesses, but I have some good examples in that are handy. So we'll call it the Ohio Real Estate Company. Okay. And so you just say create new database. Now you can call, you can call it anything you want to. Now see, it shows up in my menu of databases right now. So we're going to focus mainly on getting those papers organized because, paper isn't going away anytime soon. And in fact, the latest statistics that I saw, there's at least 50% more paper now than there was before computers really became a big factor in our lives. And we love to hit the print button, and there's really more paper than even there used to be. So we still have to deal with it. And then we'll talk a little bit later about digital, which it's great to be able to access things digitally, and even other things that aren't paper or digital. We'll talk about other things that you can organize so easily with Paper Tiger. Also, if you ever thought about, why is this called Paper Tiger? And if you've ever heard that expression in other contexts, in fact, it's even defined on Wikipedia. It's a phrase that's been around for a long time. But what it refers to is something that looks very scary and overwhelming, but you find out instead of it being a real tiger, it's just a paper tiger. It's, you can easily handle it. It's not so intimidating and fearsome as you thought. And I think this applies perfectly to Paper Tiger and what can be your experience with it. It comes from a Chinese phrase. They're the ones that originally came up with it. So we're going to go into this real estate company. And I want to remind you, too, that let me get rid of the little webinar stuff on this so I can see my whole screen here. Anyway, I just want to remind you that 80% of what we keep, we never use. There have been a lot of studies by office supply companies and that sort of thing, which have shown that 80 to 90% of what we keep, we never use. But you can keep, I'm not one of those that's going to make you get rid of everything, like some of those scary shows on TV where they just say, you got to get rid of it, all this stuff. You can keep everything you want to keep as long as you have the space for it and even more importantly, that you can find it. Because one of the Paper Tiger principles is that if you don't know you have it and you can't find it, it's of no use to you. So, but just to keep in mind, 80% of what we keep we never use. But of course, we don't know which of that 20% sometimes we will use, so it's nice to have a system to be able to find that. So I like to use what I call the FAST system. That's an acronym for the choices that you have for what you can do with the paper. F stands for file, and we'll look at reference files in a minute. A is for action. S is for schedule. I'm big on, because if you don't put something on your calendar or decide when you're going to do it, often we don't get around to it. We say, oh, someday when I have more time, I'll do this. But we know that that usually doesn't happen very well. So scheduling it, if it's something that falls into that category. And then T for toss. So file, act, schedule, and toss. The acronym is FAST. So, and then what I'm going to have you do when we get further down the line then is to go through some of the things that are sitting there, making you feel anxious and discouraged and everything with all these piles, and those will be the choices that you will use. And then I'm going to add one other category, which is financial for your business, and keeping that separate is very important for the IRS. You want to keep that stuff by categories. So when you go through, after we're finished, I don't want you to be distracted. I'd like you to really focus on what we're doing on the screen here right now. But when you are to the point, if you're taking some notes where you're going to actually do some sorting, and I hope you will, and implement Paper Tiger, then you're going to want to sort into those piles. I'll remember to talk about that a little more before we finish. So we've created our new company, so you can see, and that's just a database. So that's just what you call that group of things, just like we had Nancy's office and my husband's office and the home stuff. It's just a grouping for a particular bunch of items, okay? So Paper Tiger creates an index for you. And one of the beauties of that is, one, the keyword search. I mean, that I'm sure all of you have probably done Google searches. I would venture to say everybody's done a Google search. And the beauty of that is you put in that keyword, and it's going to bring up the information that you need. And you don't care where it comes from or how it's organized or anything. You just care about finding that information when you need it. And that's what Paper Tiger does so beautifully. You put in that keyword, and it just will tell you immediately. And I'll show you, we'll have some examples of that. Another great reason that that is so helpful is because if you have other people who need to access that information, and so if you have other staff in your office or maybe family members, there can be times when you don't expect to need to have somebody else access things for you, but maybe you're out of town or you're at an appointment or something like that, and you need to call into the office and have somebody find something for you. So this makes it so much easier. Also, if you ever have staff turnover, this is an amazing tool that prevents all kinds of disruption, because, again, you just go in and put a keyword and everybody knows where to find it, rather than, since Sally left, we don't know what she did with those reports, and we have no idea where to find it. Or other situations that I've seen where there's like multiple filing systems, maybe multiple alphabetical filing systems, or archive boxes and things like that, that nobody knows how they're organized or how to find anything in them, but they don't want to throw them out because there might be something important in them. But remember, if you don't know you have it and you can't find it, it's of no use to you. So that's what we're going to fix. So I know people feel burdened and distracted by having clutter around, and Paper Tiger is the #1 tool for being able to get rid of that clutter. and yet with peace of mind, because you know one reason that we want to leave things out on the desk or on the credenza or on the file cabinet or where on the table or whatever is because we don't want to forget about them. And but we're afraid to put it away because we don't want to forget about it or we don't want to not be able to find it. Well, Paper Tiger solves that problem. So now you're free to put things away, and so you don't have to live with all that clutter, and then you have the peace of mind of knowing that you can access it whenever you need it. So now we have our main database, so we're going to set up locations. So what is a location? That is usually a drawer or maybe a particular file cabinet where you're going to keep related things. We're going to call our first one reference. And we're going to say it's the lateral file next to the window. So that, again, if somebody else needs to access this, they know where to find it. I typically do 160 to 200 tabs in reference for a client. And it's really important because you might think, well, I don't have that many things, and that's fine. And maybe you do, maybe you have more, and I'll show you how to make the tabs so you can find those. But the idea is you want to always have more spaces, more tabs, more files set up than you need, because one of the main reasons that we postpone filing is because, you know, oh, I have to make a new folder, oh, I have to make a new label, you know, I don't have the right color, I don't have this or that, and don't have time. But that's another wonderful thing that Paper Tiger solves for us, because you always have the files already set up and you never have to change them. Once they're set up, you're set up for life because you just reuse them. If there's something there maybe in reference 42 that you don't need anymore, then you tell Paper Tiger that, you're getting rid of that, you toss it, and then it shows that as an open file. So then the next time you go in, you need to put something in, it will tell you that that file is open and you can use it. Or maybe there are new ones that you haven't even used yet. And so it's just really important to always have extra files open and ready to go. Now you do have a field here for review frequency. If it's something, I rarely use that, but you have it there if it's something that maybe in terms of some sort of compliance, you need to replace a document, you know, every 6 months or every year or something like that. If you need a reminder like that, it's there. And it's okay. So now you see we have reference file. So now we're going to make another new file, and we're going to call that action. Whoops. Somehow I've gotten into using capitals on these. Whoops. So this is going to be the action files. Now the difference in action and reference in terms of the location is you want to have the action files very close to you. These are files that you access frequently, so you want them to be very convenient both for accessing things and for putting things away. It just makes everything easier. Now if you have a you know, bottom right desk drawer, if you're right-handed, or you know, that's ideal. Actually, I use my bottom right drawer for my tickler file, which I should probably talk about briefly, even though that's not technically a part of the Paper Tiger, but it is useful, and I'll just mention it in passing. But anyway, let me finish talking about the locations for action and reference. So you want your action file. I have mine in a lateral file that's right by my desk, and it's within arm's reach. That's ideally what you're looking for. If it is in your bottom right drawer, just make it something where it's within arm's reach that you can easily access. Reference, you can have a little further away. You know, you want to have things as close as you can, but depending on the the space and the arrangement of your office, and maybe it's an office where other people need to access those reference. So you might have the reference, out in the hall or in a common room. You might have your action file somewhere within arm's reach. So I'm going to say lateral file next to desk. Again, I usually do 20 to 40 of those. I think 20 is what I have going most of the time, and to me that's manageable. But as many as you need. Actually, the original Paper Tiger tabs that used to be with the software came with 60, I believe 60 of those, and 320 reference files. So it's just always good to have plenty. But then again, I don't want to overwhelm you, and I don't have that many set up right now. I just have 20. You can always add more, but you always want to have some open. Again, if you need a review frequency, you can do that. I rarely use that, so I'm just going to say we're going to add. So now we've got action and reference. So let me look at my notes because I don't want to forget to tell you something. Okay, here's another one that we can use is archive. And that might be for old tax records or old, old client files or something when your office gets full and you just don't have the space and you rarely access them. That's a good thing to put in archive, and that might be in the storage room, for example. And, we'll say just for the sake of something, we'll say 100 items. You would just customize that. So that's another thing you could do. Another thing you could do is your safe deposit box. And you might put in there at PNC Bank, corner of Montgomery Road and Route 22. Just so that whoever might need to access it would have an item, would have an idea, be sure you're talking about the same thing. We might put 20 items in there. That's probably more than we need. So you get the idea. Whatever your needs are, you can customize a location, and Paper Tiger will work for you that way. Janet, I thought maybe we'd stop and see if there are any questions so far. Anything that needs to be clarified?
I don't see any questions so far. I think
Okay.
You're doing great.
Okay, good. All right, so now we're going to go into one of these. So let's start with reference. So you see this is still the Ohio Real Estate Company. In fact, let me go back just so you're comfortable. We're jumping around to different screens. We're going to start out back at the dashboard, which you can always go back to. It's being a little slow, the internet. Okay. So now I'm going to say, let's see, what am I working on today? I'm going to the Ohio Real Estate Company. And there's all of our locations. And right now I want to file some reference things. So then it's time to make a new item. So you see the new button up here, just like I was using, same ideas I was using for locations. So let's see. Real estate license. Whoops. And any keywords. That's pretty self-explanatory. I can't think of anything that we need. Now you see category here, and I'll go through the various columns, but this represents a column. If you have something like maybe you have more than one business in the same office, or you have some category of things that you want to be able to easily pull together for some purpose, you can use a category. Honestly, I rarely use it with a client. The keywords are so powerful, and that's typically all we need, but you do, again, you'd have that flexibility because there may be a certain situation where that's very helpful. Action date, that's kind of like the review frequency. If you have something that you need to pay attention to every so often, and there are useful ways to use that, then when you open Paper Tiger, whenever that day comes up, it will automatically remind you. So I'm just going to add that to reference 1. Another important thing is insurance. Whoops. Errors and omissions insurance is important in the real estate business. The name of the company, XYZ company, the name of the agent that you purchased it from. You could even put their phone number there if it was you wanted to keep it handy, so you didn't have to go look it up, something like that. So you can put anything in the keywords that will help you remember what it is that you might think of, because one of the classic examples is, did I put it under C for car, V for vehicle, A for auto, T for Toyota, whatever it is. You just put those keywords in there, and I even put in sometimes some misspellings or abbreviations, because sometimes I think of something, I think of the abbreviation for it. I always put that in because you just don't know on that day, or somebody else might think of it differently. So it's so easy just to type those words in. So here on the side, you see I'm just hovering. I'm not clicking on anything. I'm just hovering over there, and it says edit. So I can pull that back up if I think of something else that I want to put in there. I can easily add that. Let's see, what else do we want to look at? So I'm in reference right now, and I'm thinking, I'm going through some things on my desk, and I'm saying, oh, I want to put this in the action file. So see, all of those locations that we created are right there. And so I just jump to action, and now we can put some things in there. So let's see. So I'm going to be doing some, or my husband's going to be doing some major alterations to the website. So he's going to put that in, and whatever information, the copy and the webmaster and all sorts of things that you might want to put in there. So you just click those, put those few keywords. Now let me say something about item name and keywords. Really, both of these columns are in a way the same thing, because the item name is also going to be a keyword that you can put into your search box and it will pull up, such as license that we just did. See, we're in action right now, but it says, okay, your real estate license is in, see where it tells me it's in reference. So even though this is the item name, real estate license, it's also a keyword because it's what you use to search with. So it doesn't matter really if it's in the item name column or the keyword column. But let me jump over to reference, back to reference. See, I'm just on the search results right now. Now we're going back to the reference location. I haven't put that many things in yet. I was going to keep putting more things in, but then when I think of something I want to tell you about, I'm just going to stop and do that. So the point I was trying to make is the item name and keywords are all the same, but the reason you have an item name is, one, this is the most common way that you think about it. Secondly, if you want to print out an index, because you might want to, what if the power's out or your computer is down or in the shop or something like that, it's easier if you have an index to find something alphabetically. Now, to be honest, I rarely use it, but I always start out with one for clients when they're getting used to things, and just to be sure as a backup. Now that's one of the great things about the Paper Tiger Online is it's all automatically backed up. So that's not quite as big a concern. It's more along the lines of, you know, if you don't have access to the computer or the power is out or something like that. So what I'm getting to is you can click on item name and it will arrange these alphabetically. So see, we have the R first followed by the I. Well, that's not alphabetical. But when I click on item name, then it puts it in alphabetical order. So then there are some people who are, you know, just would like to have something alphabetical. So you can do that. So I just want to show you that flexibility there. So I'm going to take it back to the item number. So see now, when we were on item name, the number didn't really matter. It was column 2 was insurance. I mean, item 2 was insurance, and the real estate license was number 1. So they went out of order, and it would be easier to see, I guess, if I had more things in. But I'm sure you get it. It's a pretty simple concept. So again, now I'm clicking back on the item number, and now it's in numerical order. So item number, if you click on that, column heading gives you numerical order. Item name, if you click on that, gives you alphabetical order. And then keywords are what they are. Keywords are keywords. They're all keywords. Okay? So let's see. What else do I want to tell you about? Okay. So we talked about categories a little bit. Reminders, the trash. Okay. So say let's see. Which one would be best? Insurance. Well, let me put in something else that would be better for that. Or actually, wait a minute, let me go into action. And I'll put a few more things in there. We want to have the information for the sign company. You know, and this would be Jones Sign, Matt Dawson is the rep, and you know, that's all I can think of there. So we're going to add that to action 2. We're going to add another one. Let's see. So you could add many of your suppliers there. The printer. You know, cards, mailings, postcards, that sort of thing. You know, Jack is the guy that we deal with. It's Smith Printing on, you know, Main Street. So whatever information is helpful to you there. Maybe you're currently, oh, now another thing. Oh, I'm not seeing that. So we're going to add another one. Maybe I'm working on the taxes. Maybe for 2011. There's something that's, you know, still not, you got an extension or you're having an audit or something like that. I could have made it this year, but no, we wouldn't be working on this year's taxes yet. So anyway, tax 2011, we'll add that too. Okay, so then we're finished with tax 2011. Whoops, I didn't want to edit it. What I want to do is put a check mark on it. And then you see how without the check mark, these items are grayed out because you can't use those, either edit, transfer, or toss. And I can go into edit. Instead of using this little hover thing, I could check it and go into edit over there. But what I'm going to do this time is, here's tax 2011, and I've decided we're finished with that. I want to clear that out, and I'm going to transfer that to archives. Now, am I going to move it to archives, or am I going to merge it with something else? No, I don't want to merge it with another year or anything else, and I don't need to duplicate it, so I'm just going to move it. And so it says, where am I going to move it to? I'm going to move it to any place, you know, that I want to choose, but in this case, archive would make sense. So I'm going to move it to the archive so I can get it out. You know, it's taking up space in my drawer, and I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to put it in the archive, wherever that is. Action date. There's one where I could put in, I could put it in 2000, let's see. I'm not seeing how to do, that's something I need to learn to do, is by, if I can do it by the year. Otherwise, you know, because after 7 years. But you know what? No.
Nancy,
go ahead.
Nancy, I'm sorry. Just pick the date in the current year that you want, and then just change the year.
Oh, I see. Okay, there it is. So if there is something where you want to follow up on something at a certain time, that's how you do it. You choose the date. Well, I had already advanced it, but say it was today's date, and then you would just change that date to, you know, whatever year it automatically. Thank you, Janet. Okay.
Sure.
But since it's a tax return, it's a good idea to just keep those. So I'm not going to, but at least you see that feature. So now I'm going to move that item. Now it's going to say, do you want to confirm? And so I'll say yes, just so you can see that show up. Because you might be moving, you know, doing this stuff in Paper Tiger, but you haven't actually, you know, gotten out of your chair and taken the file. It's still sitting on in the file, or you just set it someplace, and you haven't actually moved it to the new location yet. So this is to remind you to do that. Or you can say, no, I'm moving something from action to reference. I'm reaching in the file right now, and I'm reaching over and putting it in the other one, so then you don't need to. But for this one, we'll say yes, because the archive is not in this room. So then, when you look up here, confirm, then you see that that is waiting. See, that tax file is waiting to be moved to the archive. It's currently in Action 4, and it's waiting to go to Archive 1. So now I can either change my mind and say, no, I'm not going to do that after all, or I can click on it and say, okay, I've done it. So now there's nothing else to confirm. So hopefully I think that's a good illustration of how that works. So now we can go back to our locations. See, we just click on the location file drawer, and there's all of our locations again. I'm just looking at oh yeah, okay. So actually this is one step that you would have already done before the filing, but I wanted to just get those concepts clear. So you're going to need tabs and labels for your file folders, and there's a couple of easy ways to do it. One way is just to print them. Paper Tiger will print them for you, and you can cut them out. But unless you really like cutting, and that's something that relaxes you when you're watching TV or something, probably you would rather go with using a label. And Avery 8167, and you may already have it because it's a very common return address label. And so you're going to you know, decide how many of those you're going to print. And you know, are you talking about Action? Are you talking about Archive? Which one are you printing it for? So see, it gives you, and it already knows there's 20 items in the Action files, so it's going to give you 1 through 20, although you can change it if you only want to do 1 through 10, or maybe you want to do 1 through 40 or 1 through 30, so you have some extra ones set up. Now this is if you wanted to make a label for the folder that has the item name on it, such as the real estate license or the website information or something like that. You can actually do that. I don't want to confuse things too much right now, so we'll just leave it at the 1 through 30. But while we're talking about that, you know, don't feel bad if you decide within those folders, those numbered folders, you might want to use some manila files. I do that quite often. If you're trying to subdivide a file, maybe you have a certain topic in, you know, like maybe you have a file for marketing or something. I just opened my drawer, and that's an example of something I see. And I have several different files within that you know, I have manila files with different names on them. So I've kind of subdivided. The only time you would want to do that is if you have quite a few papers to keep together that are, you know, of different categories. Another example is like your sky miles. You know, maybe you have several different airline miles, frequent flyer miles. So maybe you want to have a folder for Delta and a folder for American or a Southwest or whatever, and you want to keep that information separate. So there's nothing wrong with doing that if you want to, and Paper Tiger will even print out a label if you want to. Honestly, I've never really felt the need to do that, but you easily can if you like to do that. You could do that for your whole location. If you wanted to see the item names there, you could tell it to print the item names for that particular location, or you could tell it to do the name and the file folder number on it. So again, you can just customize it however you want, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever makes sense for you. Same thing now with the reference, but you know, let's just do one right now. We're going to tell it to do 1 through 30 for the action. So then it will, what did I do? Oh, I see. It generated the, why am I not seeing it? 8167. Oh, because it was a maximum of 20. I might have told it to do 40, or 30, I mean. So let's see if now that I've given it a reasonable amount, yes, now it does it. So that will fit perfectly. You put the label sheet into your printer, and you hit print, and it will print it, you know, in the right spacing and everything for those labels. Then you just take those out or take your sheet of labels, and then you know when you get the those little clear, they're the 1/5 cut file tabs, and you get the clear, and I highly recommend the clear because the colored ones are just too hard to see. Unless, another option is if you have colored ones already, you can always put the label on the outside. I do that some of the time, just depending on the situation. You can put it on the outside. The only, you know, it may not, depending on how much use it gets, it may not hold up quite as long if it's on the outside. If you want to put it on, but I can't say I have any problem with that. I mean, that mine have lasted really well. But if you want to put them on the inside, you would just put the sticker on, you know, those little white perforated cardboard strips that come with the file tabs. You just put it on there and then stick it inside. So either way, you have lots of flexibility there. And then you put that on your hanging files, and typically we recommend, instead of, these are 5th cut, but instead of going all the way across with all 5, you would, we recommend just using the first 2 positions, whether it's left or right, depending on where your file drawer is in relation to you, whichever is more convenient. But just put the odd numbers, you know, 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, in the first row. And then when you put the, you know, when you come to 2, 4, 6, 8, of course you're putting them in numerical order, but you're just staggering them even and odd. It just makes it easier and quicker to find because you're focused on a smaller area than if they're scattered all the way across. Plus, you know, if it's an even number, it's going to be on the left side, or, you know, on one side. If it's, I don't know if I said that right. If it's an odd number, it's going to be on the left side. If it's an even number, it's going to be on the right side. So the other great thing about Paper Tiger, and I'm jumping a little bit here, is, let's see, that opened another tab for me, so I'm going to close that when I'm finished with that. Okay. Yeah, I did try again. What was I telling you? Oh, the other great thing about Paper Tiger is when you put in a keyword and it pulls up the results, it's going to tell you about things that you have that you may have forgotten about, that have some of the same key words. Maybe you, I should come up with a better example, but you have something that you're putting in a keyword to find something, and Paper Tiger comes up with, well, you've got things related to that in a couple of other files too, so you may have more resources than you remembered. So that's another really great feature of Paper Tiger, is the cross-referencing. So if you, let me see if there's, if I've shown you, okay, let me go back to some of the other features. So now you see how to print your tabs and your labels. Then this tab right here is for reports, and you can do a variety of other reports. You can do an item list. That's probably the most common one, one of the most common ones you will use. So see, here's your item list all ready to print out. It's got everything there for you in order, and you can customize it as to how you would like to see the printout. See, here are the advanced options. You can tell it you want it sorted by item number. You can tell it you want it sorted by item name if you want to have it alphabetical. And you can tell it how you want it to display. So see, now it's going to be in alphabetical order, not necessarily in numerical order. So again, you can just customize it to whatever you want. Another great report, if I can go back a page, is, or whoops, I guess I should have just clicked on the tab. So you can get item list reports. You can get action date reports of those things that you want to be reminded of. You can do a transfer report. If you had, maybe your whole department was doing a big project, moving a lot of things around, you would like to get a transfer report so you can make sure that everything is being moved to the right place. And then here's a great report that if you want to go through your files and maybe somebody else in your department, maybe you want them to look at it too, you can even do this. You don't even have to be in the office to do this. But you can print this clean-out report, and you can decide, is this something I'm ready to get rid of? No, better keep my real estate license, so I'm not going to toss that. I'm not going to do anything with that. Insurance papers, I need to update those, and so on. So you get the idea. If there's something you want or ready to get rid of, then you would just check that box, and then you can go back and update your information in Paper Tiger, and then it'll show open spaces. And when you're ready then to put something new in, you don't have to make a label, you don't have to make a new file. It just says, reference 22 is open and available, so you can put in whatever you want. So let's see, any other features that I wanted to show you? Are there any questions at this point, Janet? Any other questions?
Yes. Nancy, actually it's Donna, asked, don't forget to address the tickler file.
Yes, okay, thank you. Right, just for definition, now this is something that used to be, years ago it was standard issue in offices, but we're guessing because of computers, people thought they might not need it anymore, so it's not as common as it used to be, but it is just as useful as it always was. And so what a tickler file is, it's 43 files, and there's one for each month of the year, January through December, and one for each day of the month, 1 through 31. And so the way you use that, and that's, as I said, that's my control drawer, that's right, my most accessible file drawer, my bottom right drawer. And so I will have the the days of the month file, like today is the 5th. So my file number 5 is right in front, so that I see whatever work it was that I was going to do today, or what I needed to be reminded about if I had something due. Now, a good example of how you use the tickler file is if maybe you're going to a conference or a convention or something coming up, and say it's in August, and you're registered and you have all the information, and they've sent you information and all kinds of stuff. Now, Granted, some of that stuff we keep, or probably all of it, if you get it electronically, you'll keep it electronically. And you can do a tickler file electronically too. You just make different folders. January, one for each month, January through December, one for each day, 1 through 31, use it the same way. But I digress, because when my husband and I travel, it's often nice to have those things printed out, so when you get to the hotel, you know, if there's any question, you've got your reservation there. When you're at the airport, you've got, well, we always print out our boarding passes before we go, but you get the idea. Maybe it's the shuttle service or something, you know, that, or somebody who's going to meet you, their phone numbers. It's just nice to have some things in hard copy, maybe some information for the conference. So you don't want that stuff sitting around. You don't want to lose it. So you're going to put it in August. Then when August comes, you'll go to the August file and you'll take the things out of there and put them in the particular dates. Maybe you have a report that's due on a certain date. And this is one way to reduce your overwhelm. Sometimes we feel so overwhelmed with all the things that we have to do. Well, if you have a tickler file, you can take that off of your desk, because maybe you don't necessarily want to file it away, but you will. Tickler file is a key thing to keeping the clutter off your desk too. You'll put that, you say, I know I'm not going to get to it this week because we have, you know, so-and-so coming in from out of town and we've got all these other things going on, but I really have to do this report next week. So you would put it in the 11th, next Monday, and then when you know, each day when you come in, you would rotate, you know, move yesterday's file to the back, or you could always do it the day before if you wanted to. But the idea is that you have today's folder right in front. And let's see, what else? Was I going someplace else with that? Well, anyway, just the idea that it can really help reduce your overwhelm, because you're spreading your work out and you don't have it all piled up there waiting for you. So if it's, I hope that helps. And I know we're getting a little slow on time, and I want to talk about digital before we finish up. So I'm just glancing over my notes to see if there's, I think we're doing pretty well. Oh, before we go to digital, one other thing. Another location that we can make, and let me go back. I guess I could have just, okay, sorry. Yeah, let me go back and do that. Right. There you go.
Looking for that.
Yeah.
There's another question that is asked, could you set up a database that would store your books, which is, you know,
that's exactly what I was just about to talk about.
Oh, good.
Great, perfect. Okay, so another thing we can do is set up, or okay, we're in locations right here. So we're going to set up another new location, and we're going to call that books. And it could be CDs. It could be, if you've been to lots of trainings and things and you get binders for that, it could be that. I mean, there's lots of non-physical things, and I'll talk about personal application in a minute. But you would say, you know, the bookshelf, whoops, in the hall, or let's say in the closet, whatever, doesn't matter, you get the idea. And there's probably 100 books there. And so we're going to add the location of books. Okay, so now we're going to, you know, start adding new books. And I'm not going to take time. You get the idea. You type in the name of it, any keywords, and it's going to add it. So you would want to print out on just numbered labels. You could print out and stick on the binder, and that would help you find it. So you can do that with books, CDs, lots of things. You know, if you're in an office where a lot of people use the same resources, this can be really helpful. Or if, like me, it's just me, but I have a whole bunch of books, and you know, it's just helpful to be able to go right to them very quickly. So let me tell you one other use that a lot of people find helpful. And whoops, I meant to go to back to locations and make another new one, and that is for you know, seasonal things at home. So maybe you have a storage room downstairs, for example, and I don't know how many items are in there, say 50. So then you're going to be able to go there and you're going to put something new in seasonal, and that could be, I call it patriotic. I'm not so good at typing and talking at the same time. Patriotic things like flags, you know, for Memorial Day and 4th of July and that sort of thing. So flags and stickers and napkins and all that sort of thing. You could have one, of course, for, I have one for, you know, Thanksgiving. Same idea. So you see, you can just do, but another way that I like to use that, even if I don't have a specific box with those things in it, and then you would put, you know, the key words of whatever is in the box. But another thing that's really helpful is if you have some item that you put it away and you can't remember where you put it. And let's see, I wish I had an example for that right now. Say, I remember somebody talking about a large map, and they, you know, don't get it out very often, but when they need it, they want to be able to find it, and so they, you know, stick it behind a door or something like that, but they can't remember where they put it. And before I do one of these webinars the next time, I'll try to think of some better examples. But you get the idea. This doesn't have to be numbered or even labeled. You just put the item name in, any keywords that you want, you know, Hawaii or you know, whatever it is, and then you put it that it's in the hall closet, for example. So what you're doing is for those things that you might have trouble finding, you're telling yourself where it is. Now, I realize we're getting way down to the wire here. I'm sorry I wasn't a little more careful about the time. But the other thing, I'm just going to do, this won't take very long. I'm going to do a search. Oh, let's see. I want to go back to the dash. Okay. I want to go back to the dashboard. The internet is a little slow right this minute. Okay. And I'm going to go to my office. And I'm going to say I want to look at all my forms. You know, I'm going to redesign something or I want to copy something. Okay. So now, see down here in the bottom, in blue, are the physical things. And it's showing, you know, every place the word form shows up, it's telling me, you know, where I can find that. But here's the latest and greatest with Paper Tiger. See, in the green section, it's also telling me digital documents that I have. And these are things in Google Docs. And I haven't uploaded all of my stuff there. I have some stuff that I've, you know, gotten from other people. And I have some things that I've uploaded there, but it's pretty easy to upload. You just go to Google Docs if you have a Gmail account, or you can set up a new thing. And so you go to your account and you go to Documents, and it'll ask you if you want to upload something, and then it'll browse right in your computer on your hard drive, and you just tell it you want to upload this or that. Once you do that, then that document is going to be fully searchable. So, and the symbol here shows you, is it a spreadsheet? Is it a document, like a Word document, a text document? Is it a PowerPoint, a presentation, or whatever? So this shows you what it is. It helps you find it. It tells you, you know, it takes you right to the document. So I want to offer you productivity coaching sessions, and I'm going to send you to the website, which is effectiveday.com. Let's see. Let me go right here, and I'll go right there. And it's on effectiveday.com/ either under services, productivity coaching, or you can just type in effectiveday.com/ productivity-coaching. And that will give you 4 coaching sessions, because remember I said these skills are learnable, and I saw a lot of your comments where you feel kind of overwhelmed and not sure where to start and everything. And as I said, you can get an introductory consultation if you fill out the free assessment at the bottom of the web page, which is right here, how productive are you, for individuals and organizations. But then if you decide that you would like to do something further, or maybe you know that already, that you'd like me to go through with you and give you some shortcuts to make it a lot quicker to get to where you want to go. I do 4 coaching sessions. Each one is approximately 50 minutes, and then I give you unlimited email support if you have questions in between time. So it can make a huge difference in shortening your learning curve and getting you up and running very quickly on Paper Tiger or any other productivity issues, your tickler file, or anything else you may have. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and certainly to do the free assessment. I think that's it. So Janet, any other questions or anything else?
No, I don't see any other questions. So great job, and we appreciate your time. It was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about Paper Tiger and what it does for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate that, too.
Yeah.
Because it does. It helps you get organized.
Oh, tremendously. I couldn't do without it. Yeah.
And listen, I have pasted a blog post in which it gives you several different examples, or a couple of different examples of like indexing your boxes and indexing your CDs. And you could just put books in the place of CDs in that example, and I think that would be a good example there. And I pasted that into the question section.
Oh, okay.
And sent that to all. But also the productivity coaching special that Nancy is giving you today, I've pasted that into the chat section, that link there, so you can pick that up there.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nancy, did you want to add anything else before we close?
No.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay, everyone. I know you benefited from the helpful tips that Nancy has given today, so contact her to get on her schedule. If you're ready to get organized and have Nancy help you implement a system customized just for you, call or email her today. You'll be amazed at how much more productive you'll be in no time at all.